Hi guys, I'm Dr. Tara Tobias. I want to welcome y'all back to my channel. In today's home exercise tutorial, we are going to go over mental blocks. Or actually, maybe not the exact definition of mental blocks, but what a patient described to me recently that he called his mental block. And as he was explaining to me what he thought or what he considered his mental block, it just got me thinking that there's probably a lot of patients I've treated over the years that have felt a similar way, and it probably at times interfered with their rehab or maybe stopped certain aspects of their recovery altogether. So it'll make a lot more sense once I get into his story a little bit, which I'm going to do in this video. And then I'm also going to give you a few suggestions or strategies that you might be able to try and incorporate into your therapy, and more of approaching each day with a little bit of a different mindset that may help you to tackle some of those skills or tasks that maybe you've just written off your list altogether. So I know that was a little bit confusing, but definitely I promise you it's all gonna make sense. And if you make it to the end of this video, I think there's some really applicable tips that you can start applying into your life today. But before we dive into that, if you're new to my channel and you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I upload new videos. And now let's go ahead and dive in. So as I gave that very jumbled explanation that maybe didn't make a whole lot of sense, now I'll give you a little bit of a background. So it was a patient that came in recently after I'd already been working with him for several months, and he said,
"Tara, I think I have a mental block."
And my first reaction was to disagree with him or to dispute his own perception of what he was feeling, because sometimes that's just my nature. If I feel like someone is saying something negative about themselves or saying something that almost resembles like imposter syndrome, I kind of want to step in and encourage them or build them up. So long story short, I immediately wanted to just disagree with him. And this is why, because there's a little bit of context here. After working with him for several months, he was one of those ideal post-stroke rehab patients. He was very logical. He had a very intellectual job, so he could really think through something. He asked a lot of great questions. He would go home, and if he could, he would try an exercise at home, and if it wasn't going right, he would come back in and ask me about it. We'd go over it again. So very compliant with his home exercise program, and just really checked off all the boxes of what I consider someone who has the right attitude, the right motivation, the right discipline, and just really had all the pieces lined up. So him telling me he has these mental blocks, right before I was gonna dispute him, I stopped myself and I wanted him to explain this to me a little bit more. And when he explained it to me, it blew my mind, and it made me immediately go through the Rolodex of patients that I've had in the past and think, man, this is something that I wish more patients could have articulated to me so that we could have addressed it. So I was thankful that it came up, because my entire career is nothing but one big learning process, and this was another learning moment for me. So this is the scenario that he described to me that made him believe that he had a mental block. He said ever since he came home from his stroke, his office is in the second floor of his house, and every time he wanted water, he would go down to the kitchen, pick up the cup, and get water out of the faucet or out of the automatic dispenser in the refrigerator, drink it, leave the cup in the kitchen, go back to his office. And he said he would do this multiple times a day because in his mind, the thought of taking a water bottle up to his office and keeping it in his office during the day was something he couldn't do, because before his stroke, it took 2 hands to open a bottle of water. And so he just found a way around it. So instead of figuring out how to open that bottle of water, he just resorted to just going down to the kitchen multiple times a day. So after doing this for months, finally he was like, I'm sick of doing this. I'm just gonna take a water bottle up to my office. And he took it up to his office and he opened it on the first try. And that was his aha moment. After he did that, he said that is what he was describing as a mental block. He said, I just don't do things that I don't think I can do with one hand. Instead of just trying it and figuring it out. And again, remember I mentioned kind of his personality? He's a very logical person, very thoughtful. He had a very, like I said, intellectual job that was kind of A plus B equals C type logic, very black and white. And so he said that aha moment really changed him. So now he tries more. He doesn't automatically assume he can't do something if he used to do it with two hands and now he only has one hand. He just tries. So now to some of those examples I was pulling up in my head in my little Rolodex I was going through that I had mentioned earlier when he first started to tell me this story. Probably almost every single time I start working with a patient, this is how the story goes. I ask them to do something, they say no, I say try. And it's like I'm kind of almost used to it. It's almost automatic now because in my mind, I've seen these impairments before and I know this person can do it with almost 100% confidence. And of course, through going through this process with patient after patient after patient, I know that once they try and they successfully do it, it opens up a whole floodgate of therapy activities that I can do with this person. But it happens, I would say, 6 out of 10 patients. They come in, first couple of weeks I'm working with them. Every time I ask them to do something, they say I can't, I say try. They try and they do it. And so now I am going to put that in the category of mental blocks. So now why do I tell you all this? My favorite part of my job is that first week with every patient because I know that they are just going to have aha moment after aha moment, and that makes me feel good because they feel good about themselves, they feel accomplished, they build confidence, and it all really happens without them actually progressing, but more in just a change of mindset. They didn't think they can do something. I encourage them to try. They do it, then they know they can do it. And because that's such an all-around fulfilling experience, both for them and for me, I thought I would share some tips or things that I think that would be good for a lot of you to just think about when you're approaching your day and approaching a new activity or a different activity or doing something in a different environment, to think about a few things. 1, tune into your I can'ts. Even if you're not saying them out loud, but tune in to maybe not you verbally saying I can't, but tune in to the times during the day where you avoid something or take an easier route and figure out why. Is it because you think you can't? And if so, in those moments, I would say do not do anything unsafe, definitely. If you know, there's definitely some safety awareness in us that tells us not to do certain things because they're not safe. So once you've checked that off your list, like this isn't exactly unsafe, be curious about why you avoided it or why you found an easier way. And if it's because you think, well, I've never tried this before, or I can't visualize myself doing this after my stroke the way that I did it before my stroke, become a problem solver. And we have a ton of problem solvers in this community. The suggestions or the modifications that you guys put in the comments to share with everyone else as far as how you've changed or modified an exercise that I've done in a video, that is problem solving. So just become a problem solver. And just like I tell my patients, as long as you have good safety awareness, and there's a lot of you out there, if anyone's ever told you you do not have good safety awareness, or a therapist ever told you you need to be supervised 24/7, that probably means that you lack a little bit of safety awareness, so you might not know whether or not something is safe or unsafe. But if you have good safety awareness and you evaluate that activity and don't see anything unsafe in it, try. Do what I tell my patients, just try. Break it down into teeny tiny baby steps and just try the first step. If you've been following me for a while, you can see that I break down almost everything into teeny tiny baby steps because I want it to be easy for you. I want you to be successful. I want your brain to be successful and learn that activity. So do that same process. Be a problem solver, break it down, and just try. And that's it for today's video. So next week, we're gonna do another kind of mental strategy that I think is really helpful, and then we'll get back into some more exercises. I know you guys really like it when I show you new treatment ideas. We're definitely gonna get back into that, but I have a ton of videos on here that cover almost every single problem I've encountered when it comes to a stroke. So definitely just go through the videos. My suggestion is click on Orlando Neurotherapy right below this video. That'll take you to my channel. And then there's little tabs at the top. Go to the videos tab. A lot of you guys ask me for certain videos, and I want to recommend that you just go to that videos tab and look through the thumbnails. I try and communicate in the thumbnail clearly what the problem is that I'm going to be addressing in a way that if you do have that problem or that deficit, you'll be drawn to it. So look at the thumbnails. You should be able to identify if that's a video that will be beneficial for you, and then go to the title right below the thumbnail, because that usually gives you a little bit more of a description of what's going to be in that video. And then also I have created playlists, so that's another place you can go. I have a playlist on spasticity. I have a playlist on the hip. I have a playlist on the knee. I have a playlist on advancing gait or walking. I have a playlist on, for those of you that are in the first 6 months, where I have put some of the videos that I think are the most appropriate for you or for that particular problem. So continue to do that, and then just, I hope this video this week and next week's video will just be really helpful to kind of take your rehab to the next level. So again, as usual, I enjoyed spending time with you all today. I hope you all are staying safe. Again, if you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I upload new videos, and I will see you all in the next video. You all have a great day.